All right, it's time to register at the Blackboard conference. BB World 2012. And this is registration right here. Okay, we have now arrived at the point where we're going to the meeting rooms. So this is the future of interactive education by Outsell. Kate Warlock, Director and Lead Analyst. What we're doing what I want to do is, rather than write everything down, I want to document everything in video. So I went to the first session on the future of interactive education by Kate Warlock, Lead Director and Analyst from a company from Outsell. Okay, she was from the UK, and if I'm correct, that's the University of Kentucky.
Amador, excuse me. We're conducting an interview right now, and I believe that UK stands for United Kingdom.
Not Kentucky?
No, sir.
Kansas?
No.
The University of Killeen? UK?
United Kingdom, as in London.
So that probably explains the accent.
It had classrooms which held 30 children, and had the odd language lab, I think, with a tape where we learned very poor French.
I'm embarrassed. We may have to delete this part. Okay, so she's from the UK, and so she spoke about some of the things, a lot of budget cuts in the UK as well, the United Kingdom. All right, now the thing that's kind of bad about it, I guess, Texas, and no mystery, of course, is that we've had budget cuts throughout, but Texas was number 3, right behind Kansas, the UK, and also Illinois. And so, you know, we've had our what do you want to call it, our disadvantages or downfalls, and a big reason why we can't sometimes move ahead with some of our educational goals. Of course, the prediction in her mind is perhaps every student will have their own device. I think that's already happening. You know, almost every kid from childhood already has a device, a mobile device that they use for educational reason, but of course mostly for social media. One of the interesting things that I picked up was when a child is in daycare or in pre-K, we give them choices of what to do. Like, they can go play with a toy, and they can go learn with this toy, they can go to the swings, they can go and play with Legos. But then in the middle, we give them a block of content that they have to be forced to learn. And then when they get into higher ed, all of a sudden we give them choices again. So that's an interesting concept there. One of the things that was also mentioned was the fact that it was, Yolanda, if I'm correct, it was the one where it was called no more classrooms, no more buildings, no more, brick and mortar. But the idea was the P route, route. In the UK it's route. Or the T route, which was, does the teacher provide the tools, or does the student, the pupil, provide the tools? In the sense that in the old days you used to have to go and use the chalkboard and all. Now, of course, you don't need to provide the student with tools. They have it right in front of them. Anybody can get information so quickly. Granted, not everything on the internet is true, but nonetheless, we got into printed material, which would lead, of course, to digital books, digital textbooks, and so forth, which is already happening with the readers, the Kindles, the iPads, and so forth. Assessment, not much talked about of assessment. Of course, security will always be a big issue as far as cheating and so forth. And the other thing that was talked about for the most part, again, the P route, the T route was pretty cool. Open source, a lot of stuff on the internet that's causing, nowadays it's kind of hard to be a publisher and have a book out when people can go grabbing content from the internet now and basically read up on the internet. And Peter Drucker from 1997 predicted that in 30 years, 2027, we would have no more universities because of the idea of this technological age that we as a community college are providing more of that, and the higher ed through the community colleges and also in high school, in public school, are doing more of that. And so anyway, that's basically what we got out of Kate Warlock from the UK. Okay, so we went to the session on expanding access to supplemental instruction using online tools. Now, when we walked in, there was a video on YouTube and it had SI, which I thought was Sports Illustrated, but Yolanda corrected me once again, you know, the UK joke. And so it is not Sports Illustrated, it was supplemental instruction. And using supplemental instruction for online tools. The gentleman, Joseph Rutledge, was from University of Texas at Pan American. And again, this session this is July the 10th, right? Yes, we're on July 10th. And so just a little bit on there. I know Ed Massey, one of our professors at Coastal Bend College, had talked about for his humanities class having like a tutor, but they're not tutors, they're SI leaders. So SI leaders are a little bit different in that they don't focus on just giving the content to the student, but getting very, very engaged with the student in the sense of even having their own SI Blackboard course. So, and then uploading it. And they use some programs like some of the programs that were talked about, Integrity, the idea of check your understanding and concept. So where you have groups and an SI leader that basically you can sit and check your understanding on things. It's okay to make a mistake, and a lot of the students and testimonials were talking about that. So basically an environment on learning how to learn. The leader has to be in the course, evaluated on the impact of the student performance, okay? Whereas maybe as a tutor, you give them the content, whether they pass or fail, you were still, you know, paid basically for tutoring. But this one, you're evaluated on the impact of the student performance. Because a lot of times we've gotten to the point where we're just asking, do I need to learn whatever I have to learn to pass the course, or is this on the test, that kind of stuff. The idea behind it with Integrity and other software, you can record the sessions. And then also, if somebody can't make it to a class, they can attend or listen to the session later. And very, very high population of students who have to work, which is the case in most community colleges and universities, is you have to work, so you don't have time necessarily to come into a classroom. And so you might want the course to view later on your own convenience. So again, once again, the Blackboard courses are created for the SI, the supplemental instruction. You have leaders, students, the SI leader basically heads the class, discussions, and so forth. And anyway, that's kind of the idea, and this is kind of what we got, and that's another session here. We finally got a little more into the Blackboard side of it, and these are nice backs right here that we got right here. And I like doing the video because you can tell I don't write very well. So digital video is really my way to go. So anyway, until later. And we are now at the keynote for Tuesday, July 10th. To the right. Stay to the right. We're at the Convention Center Theater, the New Orleans Theater, with some nice music. All right, you gotta find.
And we've got a great program in store for you this year. We have over 175 client-led sessions, led by people from every part of the world who are building a better educational experience. From kindergarten to college to graduate school, the workforce and beyond, we have an incredible group of individuals that are talking about giving back to the community. And make sure you visit them in their client-led sessions throughout the week.
I may surprise you by beginning with poetry. William Carlos Williams once said that it's difficult to find news in poetry, and yet men die miserably every day because of a lack of what's found there. And so I begin with these words from Maya Angelou. He spoke them amazingly 20 years ago at a presidential installation. Lift up your eyes upon this day breaking for you. Give birth again to the dream. Women, children, men, take it, this dream, into the palms of your hands. Mold it into the image of your most public self. Sculpt it into the shape of your most private need. Here on the pulse of this new day, you may have the grace to look up and out and into your sister's eyes and into your brother's face and say simply, very simply with hope, and I will say, good afternoon. Good afternoon to Blackboard world. Good afternoon.
And we are in New Orleans, Louisiana. And we have, we're going to kind of take a tour down to the Superdome because that's where they played Super Bowls. It's a memorable sporting landscape. And it is about 5 to 10 minutes from the Hilton Riverside. All right, the keynote speaker, Dr. Freeman Hrabowski from the University of Maryland, Baltimore campus, UMBC in Baltimore, Maryland. Quite an inspirational speaker. One of the top 10 presidents, or voted one of the top 10 presidents, has had some articles and has been referred to in Time magazine. Real motivational. One of the things that really stood out with Dr. Hrabowski is that he was always complimenting the people that worked under him for the most part. I noticed that even in the presentation. Every time he'd show up a video, for example, he showed like about 5 videos. Each time he always thanked the people that did it. He always addressed them, and that's always a good sign of a great leader. Very important that presidents and board members be involved, of course, in the decision making and get input. One of the things he did before he came to the conference is he texted one of his students and he asked, what did he like about Blackboard? Student basically told him what it was all about, and so he took his input and he used it during the presentation. So he looked like a very open person as far as listening to people. He also got to meet Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. in 1963, and he was a freshman, if I'm correct, and he there was a lot in the civil rights movement, and he actually told about how he was arrested. He was spat upon, and he simply because they were praying, they were marching and peacefully, and he got to meet Dr. King, and so he stressed the importance of students and how at such an early age you can begin to acquire the desire, if you will, to succeed. He talked a little bit about access and success. We make things accessible, but we don't focus on the success. We want to, this is available for you, but are we actually succeeding? We need to focus more on the success. And of course, access is important, but he was real motivational. What I liked also about him is he involved the crowd. There was a lot of people in the New Orleans theater, and he did a real good job of involving us and asking questions, and very interactive, if you will, very approachable. And so one of those kinds of guys you'd kind of want to sit and talk to, and he he's you can kind of tell it, even though he's such a learned man and an educated man, that he was still wanting to learn more, and that's another great sign of good leadership. So he was amazing. I'm going to look him up. I'll look up and read more about him. His background was math, a lot of numbers thrown out there, which I really enjoyed. But he addressed a lot of issues, and it was real cool. So that's kind of how we ended the general session. We also went to the exhibit hall, and I got a lot of neat information that I'm going to continue tomorrow, and it's July 10th. We're going to call it quits for the evening. But it's been fun. Blackboard 2012 here in New Orleans, Louisiana, July 10th, 2012. Good night and God bless.